I love portable gaming, and I also love console gaming, and really there is no better system out there to bridge that divide than the Nintendo Switch. However, I do think there is an additional middle ground between docked mode and portable mode, and I don't mean tabletop. Rather, what I'm talking about is when you want to play portably, but the actual portability of a portable handheld gaming unit isn't a major concern, like if you're just playing in your home, for example. And the best example that I can think of for that would be if you're doing second screen gaming. That is, playing a game while you do something else, like watch a movie or binge a Netflix series or something like that, and the game that you're playing doesn't really require your full attention. I tend to do this a lot, especially for games that have a sort of grindy, repetitive nature about them between story beats. So if I just want to chill out and play some Witcher 3 and do some contracts, or if I want to do inventory management or something to otherwise grind up my character but not necessarily dive into the story, I can do that while binging the Witcher series on Netflix at the same time. And I think that is where the Hori Split Pad Pro comes in. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this beast of an add-on for the Nintendo Switch. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when new videos drop. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into the review. And let's get the obvious out of the way, this thing is an absolute beast and there's no getting around that. On top of it being a pretty beastly controller, it is Daemon X Machina branded, but honestly I don't think that should put anybody off because the branding is incredibly subtle. The Daemon X Machina X is only featured on the actual X button on the controller, so if you, like a lot of people, weren't a huge fan of that game, you don't have to worry about this being plastered in vaporware mech suits or anything like that. But with the aesthetics out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about what it's like to actually use this monstrosity. And honestly, that's probably the biggest misconception people have about this particular Joy-Con replacement. Yes, they're super huge, but that's only compared to the conventional Joy-Cons. A more fair comparison would be to pit this against any modern controller like the Nintendo Switch Pro controller or an Xbox One controller, and not the original Xbox Duke controller. It just seems like the Duke would be a more fair comparison when you put these things up against the standard Joy-Cons. All this is to say they're actually pretty comfortable. All of the buttons are perfectly responsive, even if they're not a total one-to-one match for an actual Pro controller. For example, the triggers feel great, but the shoulder buttons feel ever so slightly mushier than what you'd expect on a standard controller. As for the D-pad, it's not going to win any awards, but it's more than serviceable and definitely a step up from trying to use the Joy-Con buttons for precise movements in games that demand it. And where it really shines is with the analog sticks, which feel like they have an ever so slightly expanded range of motion over the Pro controller, and certainly an expanded range of motion over the standard Joy-Cons. In fact, it's not too dissimilar to the analog sticks that are on the Powerade wired Breath of the Wild controller that I reviewed a couple years ago on this channel. Sort of feels like that. But where things get really interesting is in the extra buttons and functionality that the Hori Split Pad Pro includes. A few weeks ago I reviewed the excellent back button attachment for the DualShock 4, and I'm happy to say that the Hori Split Pad Pro has these built right into the back. You can map them easily too by holding the assign button and then tapping the button you want mapped to it. These are excellent, particularly for action games that assign something like potions to a D-pad press so you don't have to take your thumbs off of the sticks in the middle of chaotic situations. If you've never tried this before on any system, you should totally give it a shot because they are an absolute literal game changer. And it would surprise me not at all to see the next PlayStation or the next Xbox include this functionality natively. The other added function that I would not have expected, which is so weird because I feel like this is such an old school feature, but they give you a turbo button. You can assign these in the same way, just hold it down and tap whatever button you want to turboify, and from that point on, anytime you hold that button, it's going to rapid fire on its own. Press it again and you can even have it do this automatically. Admittedly, it's rare in the modern age that I would ever feel the need to use a turbo button, but I did find a couple of cases where I could use it, and it's probably even more rare that I will want to have a button fire automatically for me, but still, kind of a neat inclusion, if not one that feels a little bit dated, I guess. Of course, all the extra functionality in the world doesn't mean anything if the thing is just not comfortable to hold, and I'm happy to report that it is very comfortable to hold. Despite the fact that these look totally gargantuan when docked onto the Switch screen, these are actually extremely lightweight so you won't feel a pull on the system. Now where you will feel it is in the added width of the system. I have to imagine that this is what playing with those GameCube keyboard controllers felt like. Okay, it's not that extreme, but it does take a little bit to get used to. It's almost like you're spacing your hands an extra set of Joy-Cons width apart, which can be off-putting initially. But if you can get past that initial weirdness of rewiring your brain's muscle memory for portable play with the Switch, this is a wonderful way to play handheld. But it's not completely without flaws. For one, with that added distance, it did seem like there was a little more flex where the controllers slide and snap into the console. It's not a deal breaker or anything, but you'll likely notice it, and if the rear of the controller is any indication, so did Hori. If you look at the back, you'll see there's a little bit of extra plastic that extends onto the rear of the Switch body itself, which is probably there for stability. And beyond that, there's the obvious drawback of the fact that this is a big boy that doesn't exactly travel very well. If you expect to take these on the go with you, you're going to have to toss them in a pocket or a backpack or something, because leaving them attached to your Switch definitely won't fit into any standard size cases. Plus, to keep the weight and price down, these do not have NFC, HD Rumble, or batteries for any sort of detached play. But if you're like me and you also like to sort of chill out and watch a movie or binge Netflix or something like that and play in portable mode and you want a cozier experience with some added functionality, I think this one's totally worth a look. Now, apparently these have been kind of hard to find. I didn't have any issues finding it. I'm going to go ahead and drop an affiliate link below to Amazon where I got it for $49.99. You can find them on eBay, but those prices are going to be inflated. I would not pay $70 or $80 for this controller, but $50 feels like about the right price for the value that it's providing. But hey, what do you think? Is this a practical upgrade for those who prefer portable play, or is this an unholy abomination that absolutely should not exist, kind of on par with the original Duke controller for the Xbox? Let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts about it. Again, if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when new stuff comes out, and I will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.